now, sir.
Ah,
Yes, we are live. We'll start.
Arti.
Aarti ma'am, please.
Shall we start, sir?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
A warm good morning to everyone. This is Dr. Aarti, Associate Professor from Department of CSC, Srinivasa Institute of Technology and Management Studies. We welcome you all for this webinar on cyber attacks and defense mechanism in data security. Now I request Mr. E. Purushottam, Associate Professor from Department of CSC, to deliver the welcome address.
Beloved Principal Dr. P. Ramesh Kumar Garu, respected Vice Principal HOD MCA Dr. S. Srikanth Garu, beloved HOD CSC Dr. Nagaraj Garu, CSI Student Chapter Coordinator Dr. D. Jagadishan Garu, distinguished resource person Mr. Vishal Garu, dear faculty and participants. A very good morning, one and all. It is my great pleasure and honor to welcome you all for the webinar on cyber attacks and defense mechanism in data security, organized by Department of CSC, MCA, and CSI Student Chapter, Srinivasa Institute of Technology and Management Studies, Chittoor. I request all participants to utilize this opportunity to enhance your knowledge in data security. Once again, I welcome you all for the webinar. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. D. Jagdishan, Convener and CSI Student Coordinator, to give a few words about this webinar.
Asha. Good morning to one and all. First of all, I thank to our management, principal, vice principal, CSC HOD, and other coordinators for supporting this webinars. First, I thank to our resource persons for accepting our request and also present here. I kindly accepted the Vishal sir for accepting this topic and also continuously interacting with me for giving this webinars. Thanks, sir. Today's topic is a cyber attack defense mechanism in data security. Cyber security is important because it encompasses everything that pertains to protecting our sensitive data or personal identifiable information or protector health information or personal information is etc. So from theft and damage attempted by criminals and adversaries. So today we're going to see getting more information from our research persons. So I hope today's section everyone to enjoy for this webinars. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce the resource person, Mr. K.M. Vishal, Certified Ethical Hacker by EC Council, US. Also, he is a white hat hacker who systematically attempts to inspect network infrastructure with the consent of its owner to find security vulnerabilities. Also, he is certified by various top security vendors in various platforms like endpoint, perimeter, and data security. He has total 5+ years of experience in cybersecurity and risk services in IT industry. He is a certified ethical hacker in Easy Council, McAfee product specialist, and still much more. So we are very happy and glad to have you here, sir. I hope this session will be quite interesting and very useful to all the participants. Now I request Mr. Vishal to take over the session.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Aarti. Okay. Fine. So, very good morning to all. Thank you for the wonderful introduction, Ati ma'am. I would like to thank the management of Srinivasa Institute of Technology and Management Studies and Dr. D. Jagadishan for giving me an opportunity to enlighten the participants on cyber attacks and defense mechanism in data security. So this would be a very interesting session for you all. We would also have a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. And I would request you all to just post your any related questions on the cybersecurity or on the presentation. So I would display your questions to the larger audience, and even I would answer all your questions. So I'll just give an example how we do. So I can see there are live comments which is being streaming in our YouTube. So let's show one by one. So this is how we gonna post your comments. Like we'll post your queries at the end of the session in the question and answer session. So at that point of time, you can share your questions so that we'll post it to the larger audience, and I would answer all your questions right away. Okay, fine. So let's jump on to the session, wasting much of time. Okay, thank you. Fine. So today we're going to see about cyber attacks and defense mechanism in data security. So our topic will be more based on and how does it affect you while cyber attacks, and we'll see what is data security and mechanisms used behind it, and how a data security is being implemented in larger organizations. So let's move on it. So what is cyber security? So to start with, a cyber attack is an assault launched by criminals using one or more computers against a single or multiple computers or networks. A cyber attack can maliciously disable computers, steal data, or use a breached computer as a launch point for other attacks. So to be very precise, cyber attack is a kind of attack or targeted with the help of other computers. So wherever a criminal is using computer as a medium to achieve his attack will be termed under cyber attack. So where computer and networks are being used, and that will be coined as cyber attacks. So what he gains from cyber attack? So he can be able to disable the computers. He would steal your data. That's where we call it as a data breach. Or he can even breach your computer and make use of your computer as an host to achieve more cyber attacks. So what he does is he take control of your mission, and he would make your mission as a host, and he would try to attack another mission. So that's where he will be anonymous and you will be in face of law, because your mission is being used to attack another missions. So in front of the law, you will be the person where you will be in front where the attack is used as a source mission. So that's how you will be trapped while using cyber attacks. So what all can be loss in cyber attack for an organization? So it can be a loss of revenue. So once your organization is being cyber attacked, it will reduce your revenue. It will be a loss of intellectual property. So you have some ideas, you have your patents with you. So those all data will be breached if you have a cyber attack, and even your reputation. Reputation is a very big deal in this generation. So if you have a very good reputation in the market, your company would be reaching more people. But when your reputation goes down, that will again have a revenue loss on you. So cyber attacks will reduce your reputation very easily because the news will spread very fast in this generation. So let's move on. What is hacking and who is a hacker? So I should say that we should have a much of bit of technical terms so that you will understand the concept very much easier. So what is hacking? Hacking is an attempt to exploit a computer system or a private network. It is nothing but an unauthorized access to or control over computer network security systems for illicit purpose. So anything which you are doing it for illicit purpose or you're doing it illegally will be coined under hacking. So hacking is the pure way where a hacker gonna indulge hacking on your mission. So who is a hacker? So obvious, a hacker is a person who finds and exploits the weakness in the computer systems and or network to gain access. So hackers would be skilled computer programmers with knowledge of computer security. So anyhow, you know that hacker is the person who gonna hack your machine. So how he does the hacking? He finds the exploits the weaknesses, which is nothing but vulnerabilities. So might be vulnerability would be a new term for you people. Vulnerability is nothing but something weak in your system. So how a normal virus attack us? If you are weak in immune system, a virus will attack you. That's how the concept is. The same way, if a computer is having some weakness in it, like it can be in software, legacy software, very old software you're running on, or you have a long old OS which doesn't have any security patches on them, or you have any antivirus which is very old, like 1 year old signatures in it. So these are all some reasons where your system becomes weak. So when your system become weak, and that's the point where the hacker will exploit your mission. So that's how a hacker will indulge to hack your mission. So it's always good practice to have your antivirus updated, and you should have your OS, like your Windows, should be patched and have a security patch all the time. And even you should have your lot of vulnerabilities to be done, and you can have vulnerability testing. We have many techniques to find what all vulnerable in your mission. So you can have a vulnerability testing, and you can understand what all can be patched in your mission. And even hacker should be a very good programming skills. You should have very good programming skills, because hacker should be a pro in everything. He should know networking, he should know scripting, he should know how the security levels are there. So we have different security levels. We have perimeter, we have endpoint, so we have many security layers. So the hacker should be known that there are so many security layers, so that he will try to get inside the infra very easily. So he should have a very good skill in scripting as well as the networking part of the infrastructure. So let's see about some types of cyber attacks and cyber crimes which we see in our day-to-day lives. So man in the middle attack, MITM. So man in the middle attack is very simple. So a man in the middle attack would occur when a hacker inserts himself between the communications of a client and a server and initiate traffic instead of the client. So it's very common in session hijacking. How session hijacking happens? So it's like a client is talking to a server. This would be a very normal connection where you can see it in your day-to-day life. Like normally a machine is talking to the server can be anything, like it can be like every website you access is nothing but a server in backend. So a client is talking to a server. At that point of time, what the hacker does is he gets in between, and he makes that he is the trusted host. Instead of the client, hacker will come into picture, and hacker will try to send data as a client is sending. So hacker, what he does is he disrupts the traffic between client and server, and he will get the traffic from client, and he will change it to something else, and he will update to the server. But where the server will not know this, server will be believing that it is communicating to the client. So at that point of time, the server will be still communicating, and it will reply to the hacker rather than replying to you. So that's how a hacker will come into the middle of a communication of the server and the client, and he will hijack the whole session. This is a very common cyber attack which was in the world, which was causing a lot of issues. So we'll see much of attacks, so that we'll understand how to rectify it as well. So few more cyber attacks. Electronic money laundering. So electronic money laundering is nothing but involves of use of computers to launder money. So launder money is nothing but who make the black money into white. So the conversion of the black money into white. So how they do is with the help of computers. So once you use the help of computers or networks, that will be termed into cyber attacks or cyber crimes. So it is a very big crime in all over the world to launder money using internet and computers. So it's like illegal to change your money into black into white with the help of cyber crimes. Even ATM frauds. ATM frauds, this involves intercepting ATM cards details such as account number, PIN numbers, and then these details would be used to withdraw funds from the intercepted accounts. So you would have heard in late 2000 and 2010, in between these years, you would have heard many newses where ATM machines were hacked. They insert few gadgets in the pin hole in your display screen, and they will track your pin ID, pin numbers, and even they track your that CVV numbers and everything. That was a very big issue in lot of ATM machines in 2000 to 2010. Now we are coming up to rectify it, but still there are hackers who use this technique to steal your account numbers. They will steal your PIN numbers, and still it's a problem in our world. So electronic fund transfer. So this involves gaining an unauthorized access to bank computer networks and making illegal fund transfers. So this is very common. Electronic fund transfers, like they used to steal your account and your account details, and they would try to do NEFT or IMPS or any kind of fund transfer from your account to any other account. So this is how the electronic fund transfer happens, and this is a part of a cybercrime as well. So let's see a few things where these are used. Bots and botnets, a very hot topic in current cybersecurity world. A bot is a computer that has been infected with malware, so it can be controlled remotely by a hacker. That bot is nothing but can be used to launch more attacks or become a part of a collection of bots. So this is what I was referring. Your mission would be hacked, and that mission would be used as a host to attack more missions. So on that time, your mission would be called as bot, which is nothing but an robot. It's kind of an electronic robot of the hacker. So that's why the name termed as bots. So if one system is being done like that, it's called a bot, and a network of missions, like a whole network of missions are being converted into bots, then it will be termed as botnets. So it's nothing but bot in networks, botnets. So we also call it as a zombie computer, because zombies are like they've been they'll be controlled by another person, right? So that's why the hacker would control your mission, and your mission would turn into a zombie's mission, zombie computer. And that's why we call it as bots. What you can gain from bots: they can do DDoS attack, key logging, they can screenshots, they can take screenshots of your mission, they can even access your webcam. Your webcam will automatically open, and all the screen in front of you will be recorded by the hacker, spreading other types of malware. They will use your mission to send attacks on the other missions. That's where they're spreading other types of malware termed as sending spam and phishing messages. Spam emails are very common nowadays, and you get minimum of hundreds of emails every day as a spam. So these botnets would be used to send spam emails, and when any illicit purpose, that time when they have a reverse engineering, and they would find a bot which is your mission as an host for that attack. So even they will share phishing images. Phishing images is nothing but making themselves the trusted host. They will share like just click on the link, you will get $1,000 of bonus, or you have win a lottery ticket. These all kind of few examples for phishing messages. You get many lottery messages and everything, right? These are all part of phishing messages. Even these are purely done illegally. Denial of service attack. This is what DDoS is, where DDoS is distributed of denial of services. When it is distributed, it is DDoS, and DOS is denial of service attack. It's nothing but a malicious attempt to dispute all normal traffic of a targeted server, services, or network by overwhelming the target or its surrounding infrastructure with a flood of internet traffic. So what is targeting? So a very simple example: every server will have certain capacity of users can be used at particular point of time. So we'll take an example. Flipkart. Flipkart is a web server where it has approximate 10,000 users per second. So what the server is capable of is 10,000 users per second. But when we have a big billion day or a flash sale on Flipkart at 12 p.m. sharp. So once 12 p.m. starts, there will be a flood of users. It will be like around 1 lakh users will try to click on one particular mobile or something. So they will try to click on one particular product, and that point of time the server crashes. The server crashes because the every server will have that particular time of users to be allowed. So when only 10,000 users are allowed, but at that particular point of flash sale, 1 lakh users are coming into picture, the server will not be able to capable of it. So at that point of time, it crashes. And that's where the availability of the internet website goes down. So it is a reputation loss for Flipkart. So you would say anytime when I go for flash sale, the Flipkart doesn't work. So this is kind of an normal scenario where you see day-to-day life. It is also in IRCTC and everywhere. But when this is done intentionally by hackers, normally in a normal day, if you open Flipkart, it will work normally. But if a hacker wants, he will send many kind of malicious traffic. He will send any irrespective of the ports and everything, he sends a lot of malicious traffic towards Flipkart. He will make this bot and botnets to work as source client, and they will try to open Flipkart. So if this happens for 1 hour, just think, if it happens for 1 hour, your Flipkart site will be down for 1 hour, which will be a very big, huge loss to the Flipkart product. So this is where DOS and DDoS are very high cyber attacks, which is in place nowadays. So they normally do this any company. It can be Flipkart, Amazon, any, think of banking websites. If you are doing a transaction in SBI, and that point of time there's a DDoS attack in SBI internet website will go down. It will go down for 1 hour, which will be equal to more than like around more than thousands of dollars lost for the SBI team. So this is where DDoS is very crucial. Another major cyber attack is ransomware. Everyone would have heard about ransomware in 2018 and 2017, 18. We have many ransomwares coming into picture. Ransomware is nothing but it denies or restricts access to your own files. Then it demands payment in return for letting you back in. So what it does is it will encrypt your whole desktop or a laptop, and it will request for payment. It will request payment in mostly cryptocurrencies, because it is very tough to have a reverse engineering to find the owner of the account person. So they normally use Bitcoins over there. So they will ask you for Bitcoins to just retrieve your data. So a very recent example is in 2017, we had a ransomware attack spread across 150 countries and compromised over 200,000 computers within just one single day. So this was coined as WannaCry attack. This attack caused damage estimated in the hundreds of millions to billions of dollars. WannaCry affected the MS operating system that did not have the latest patch installed for a known vulnerability. In this MS Office, which is nothing but our Windows systems. So Windows doesn't had an patch for vulnerability which was found in Windows 7, Windows 8 machines. So that was the targeted attack by the hackers, and they tried to attack all the Windows 7 and Windows 8 machines. They would share any email to that machine. Once you click that email, your machine will be encrypted. So that's how it started spreading. So what it did is it made that people to understand that how important is to update their machines. So there were people still using Windows 7 and Windows 8 in very big organizations. Many health industries in European countries were attacked because of WannaCry, because all the health industry were using Windows 8 and Windows 7 machines, but the latest one was Windows 10. So this where the attack intended to be, and that's where the hackers tried to attack it. Even in India, if you see, we have a lot of banks which still use Windows 98 machine, and you can see many ATMs are still being using Windows 98, Windows 2000 servers. These are all kind of a legacy servers. It's very easy to hack. That's where the hackers tried to attack, and WannaCry was a part of attack which tried to had an exploitation towards the vulnerability of Windows 7 and Windows 8. So major steps to reduce the risk of ransomware attack is always keep your OS up to date, because always there is a chance when your OS is not up to date, you will be prompt for an attack. So normally hackers will try to hack a machine which is weak in nature. So that's the reason we always say to have your OS up to date. Keep your antivirus software up to date. So antivirus will have its signature update every day. So every day there are thousands of viruses being found in the industry, and that viruses are being added in their signatures every day. So antivirus would get updated every day. So make sure that your antivirus is live and it is getting updated every day. Backup your most important files. Don't keep your important files in your machine at all, because unknowingly, if an attack has happened and he's able to access your files and it has been encrypted, so you can escape from it without paying it. There is no assurity that you pay the ransomware and he gives you the decryption key, because you can't rely on hack, right? So he will get the payment, he would say he can't give the decryption key. So it's always recommended to back up your files, so that if there is a loss of file also, you will not be impacted a lot. So always keep your files backed up. Don't open attachments from unknown sources. As I said, WannaCry was shared in email. It has few attachments in it which look like they will share like your bonus slip, your payment slip, like that. They will have the name, but the extension would be like .js or .jar, like that. So where once you click that, it will just start scripting behind your screen and it will start encrypting your machine. So always make sure you don't open any attachments in your spam email or anything. So make sure you only click documents or whatever it is on your trusted people. So if you have an email from your friend and you can trust him, then you can click that attachment. If not, please don't click on the attachments. It will create a lot of loss for you in backend. So let's see about data security. What is data security? So data security refers to the process of protecting data from unauthorized access and data corruption throughout its life cycle. Data security includes data encryption, hashing tokenization, and key management practices that protect data across all applications and platforms. So wherever your data is being kept or kept in stale would be secured. So making sure that your data is secured is being part of data security. So it is includes throughout its life cycle. It's not like you just type your data, it is secured. It's not like that. Once you save it for 1 year long. So even for that 1 year long, your data should be secured. So that's the main concept where data security comes into picture. So if you're keeping your data for 1 year, all throughout the 1 year, your data should be secured. This will be taken care by the data security applications. We have many methods in data security, so we'll see one by one in the later slides. To understand data security, you should understand CIA triad. What is CIA triad? C is nothing but confidentiality, I is integrity, and A is availability. So confidentiality. Confidentiality means that data, objects, and resources are protected from unauthorized viewing and other access. So you have in every organization, we'll take an example of an organization. There's an always confidential data in the organization. For example, I would say we have our quarters profit and loss document. So that document is an confidential document to the higher management only. So what confidentiality makes is it protects it from unauthorized viewing and other access. So a person from an IT team or a person from a development team don't want to access the profit and loss data of the higher management. So that point of time, the confidentiality comes into picture. It protects from unauthorized access from the other people rather than people who has the access for it. It makes sure that it is not accessible for any other people who is not authorized to view it. Integrity. Integrity measures protect information from unauthorized alteration. These measures provide assurance in the accuracy and completeness of the data. Integrity is nothing but protecting from alteration. So if it makes sure that it is not being altered by anyone else rather than authorized people. Only the authorized people will be able to change it or delete it or whatever it is. It should not be given access to other people. Like it should not be very easy for a normal employee to open the higher management data and delete it, right? So that's the reason where integrity comes into picture. It will stop and it will protect from alteration of any confidential details. And availability. Availability is in order for an information system to be useful, it must be available to the authorized users always. So availability makes sure that it is available always. So I can say I have a confidential detail, but when I try to click it, it is not being accessible. And that's the point where availability comes into picture, and it makes sure that the data is always available for the authorized users. So availability of the document will be coined and termed over availability. So this makes the whole CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. This becomes the base of the data security. So we'll move on to what is regex. Regex is nothing but a regular expression, and it is also called as a rational expression. Regular expression is a sequence of characters that define a search platform mainly for use in pattern matching for strings and string matchings. Regex are used in data security, Google Analytics, in URL matching, and in many data filtering scripts. So to be very simple, what is a regular expression? So you click on Google search, you click that what is the definition of data security. So how the Google makes it easier for the computer to understand is where the regex come into picture. So for organization, I say I'm in banking industry. So for me, all my credit card number, debit card number, account numbers, information of the users, Aadhaar card, PAN card, everything is being very confidential data for a bank sector. So we should make the computer that it should be intelligent enough to understand how and where the data is being stored. So they create a expression digitally to make the computers to understand how to capture and how to identify the confidential data. So I say how we write in regex. So for Aadhaar card, you know that Aadhaar card is of 12 digits. It has 4-digit space, 4-digit space, 4-digit. So we term this as /D is nothing but in digit format. So D4 space D4 space D4. This is a very simple regex. So digit 4 space digit 4 space digit 4. So this will be used to understand where all Aadhaar card is being recorded in your machine. So once you scan your machine, it will scan for everywhere if anything is matching to this particular regex. And that point of time, it will understand how many Aadhaar card number are being stored in your machine. So in similar way, we have expression for everything. If you take an example of an PAN card will have first 5-digit as an alphabet, next 4-digit as an um, next 4-digit as a number. So we can make expression for all these details. So even digits will have state code in it, numbers will have some code in it. So we need to understand the pattern of the Aadhaar cards, and we need to create the regex because it will change from everyone. My Aadhaar card number would be 1234567 and friend's Aadhaar card number would be like 8375. So we can't have all the data as and resource. So we need to make something regular, or we should make something expression based, so that a computer will easily understand anything which is matching this particular regex will be captured, and it will be stopped from sending out of the organization. So let's see about few data security tools and protection types in market. We have Forcepoint, we have Symantec, we have McAfee. These are all kind of very reputed companies which provide data security tools for the organizations. They give access for web protection, email protection, removable device protection, printer, application, screen capture, clipboard protections. So how this captures? We'll create a rule for web protection and we'll give a regex. So my regex would be for Aadhaar card number, and it is a web protection. To understand it, I'm opening website, I'm opening LinkedIn, I'm opening LinkedIn and I'm typing my Aadhaar card number and I'm clicking on enter. At that point of time, my security tool will understand I am sharing an Aadhaar card number, and it will block me from sending that Aadhaar card number. That's where web protection comes under. Everything which is being shared and downloaded from internet will be captured via web protection. And email protection is nothing but you have Outlook, you have Gmail, you have Hotmail, Yahoo. So everything which we shared between emails. So this will be part of your SMTP protocol. So it will go to the email gateway and it will go to the other person. Sorry. So the DLP will come into picture in email protection to understand what is the body of the letter, or it will understand what is the attachment of the email you share, and it will understand whatever is being shared in your subject line, body of the email, and even your attachment. This all will be captured via email protection. Removable devices, nothing but you attach a pen drive, and if you try to copy something confidential from your mission to your pen drive, this will be stopped, part of removable device protection. Printer protection is nothing but you use your company's laptop and you try to take a printout of your profile. In your profile you would have your Aadhaar number or PAN number, anything. So while you try to take printout, that will block yourself, because you're trying to take something in hard copy which is being present in your mission as a soft copy. So that's where printer protection comes into picture. It will stop you to take printouts of any confidential data. Application protection is like any application. Nowadays we have this web chat, like Microsoft Teams are being used as an application. We had Google Meet, we have Yahoo Messengers. So these all messengers are kind of application which has been installed in your mission. So even that will be protected, part of application protection. Screen capture protection, like there are people who just take screenshot of your system and they will copy it as a jpg file and they will transfer it. So even that is being taken care by the data security tools via screen capture protection. If you have something confidential in your screen and you try to take a screenshot of it, like you take a snip of it, and that would be blocked by the data security tool, and that would be taken part of screen capture protection. Clipboard protection is like copying something from one place to another, and that would be recorded as well by the data security rules. If you're copying something from a Word document which is very confidential and you copy it directly to your email or to a notepad or anything somewhere, so once you copy it, your data will be captured in your temp file, and that temp file will be um, scanned, and the data security will understand any confidential data is being moved to that new place. So whatever you copy paste or cut paste will be captured via data security tools. So these are all part of few policies which you create for data security tools. So let's see some top regulations which is around the world for data security. So payment card industry data security standards, we call it as PCI DSS. PCI DSS is a set of requirements intended to ensure that all companies that process, store, or transmit credit card information maintain a secure environment. So this is very compulsory. PCI DSS regulation is compulsory for many organizations which make uh, data of the users, like Amazon, Flipkart, PayPal, Paytm. These are all part of payment industries. So they have your credit card numbers, debit card numbers, your internet banking details, everything being stored in there. So the government makes sure that that data are being secured, and that's where the PCI DSS standard comes into picture. To get into the payment industry, government has regulations that the company should have this standard as part of its organization. So once it has been approved by the PCI DSS standard, then that company will be able to store or transmit credit card information. That's how Paytm, PayPal, everyone came into picture. So Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA. HIPAA is a very famous standard regulations which are used across the world to make sure that your health details is being protected. So HIPAA is a federal law that requires the creation of national standards to protect sensitive patient health information from being disclosed without the patient's consent or knowledge. So this makes sure your health records and health information is being secured from other people. So in India, we have HIPAA is not been used in a larger manner, but when you compare to other European countries or US companies, you have HIPAA is mandatory for them. So they make sure that all your medical records are being secured rather than any alteration or any kind of changes in it. GDPR. GDPR is General Data Protection Regulation. This is a part of European General Data Protection Act. This covers the protection of European citizens' personal data such as social society numbers, date of birth, email, IP addresses, phone numbers, and account numbers. This all being recorded in the government itself, the European government. So they all have this GDPR regulation part of their organizations to make sure that the users' data is being secured everywhere. So this is very important for the European nations, and like part of a lot of security regulations, we have many regulations around the world, but in India we have very few regulations in place. But still now India is being making sure that even their data and everything is being in the topmost regulations. So they are now in part of creating new regulations and more secured regulations in near future might be. So to understand data security, let's go with a very simple example and a very easy example for everyone. So is your WhatsApp data safe? WhatsApp is a very common platform used around the globe. So in everyday, in day-to-day life, everyone use WhatsApp. So we should understand what is the defense mechanism used behind your data protection in WhatsApp. So if I give a full of technical lecture, it might be a bit tougher for the people who doesn't know much about security. So we'll go with an example. So how your WhatsApp data is secured and what is the defense mechanism used behind that protection. So to understand that, to understand what is WhatsApp and how the data is being secured in WhatsApp, let's go by step by step. So we'll have what is cryptography. Once we make sure that we are technically strong, we'll understand uh, the whole mechanism behind WhatsApp. So we'll go with what is cryptography. Cryptography is used to secure and protect data during communication. So it is helpful to prevent unauthorized persons or group of users from accessing any confidential data, or encryption and decryption are the two essential functionalities of cryptography. Cryptography is used to secure your data during a communication. So communication is nothing but person A and person B gonna communicate together. At that point of time, the data being sent from person A to person B would be made secured with the help of cryptography. So we have two types of functionalities in cryptography, that is encryption and decryption. So what is encryption and what is decryption? Encryption is a process which transforms the original information into an unrecognizable form. This new form of the message is entirely different from the original message. That's why a hacker is not able to read the data as senders use an encryption algorithm. So this is achieved by using key algorithms. I will go back to the key algorithms later. So encryption is nothing but whatever you transfer, like you send a message, something like, hi, how are you? So that is a readable format for you. But what encryption does is it will change it into an unrecognizable form. It will change into something random numbers or random digits, so that the hacker will not be able to understand what you are sending. So this is part of encryption. What is decryption? Decryption is a process of converting the encoded or encrypted data in a form of that is readable and understood by the human or a computer. So this method is performed by unencrypting the text manually or by using keys used to encrypt the original data. So decryption is just the vice versa of encryption. So whatever is being unrecognizable format, that will be converted or encoded back to the original format, which is being understandable to the human. So I send a message, hi, how are you? And that will be converted into a random numbers, which is called encryption. And that random numbers will be decrypted back to hi, how are you, which is known as decryption. So for this encryption and decryption, we use key algorithms. So let's see what is key algorithms. So we'll have very simple example for cryptography. So here you can see a word called I love apples. So the key algorithm we use here is replace every letter with the third successive letter. So the letter I will be converted into its third successive letter. So I, J, K. So K is the third successive letter. So I will write the encrypted part as K. Same wise as L. L from L, the third successive letter is L, M, N. So N will be my encrypted format. So for every letter, we'll have the third successive letter as the key and will convert it into the encrypted format. So my cipher format would be KNQYGCRRNGU, which is nothing but I love apples. So this will be encrypted as a cipher with the help of key. That key is nothing but third successive letter. So my receiver will have this key stating to convert it back to the third before letter in it. So when it comes to decryption, the K will be taken into place as KJI. So for the third before letter is I. So again, it will be decrypted as I love apples. So this is how we make encryption and decryption so that a hacker comes into middle will not understand what I am sending to that person. So to understand this, the key is very important. So our key in this example is replacing every letter with the third successive letter. So let's see what are all types of keys we have. We have symmetric key. Symmetric key encryption are algorithms which use the same cryptographic keys for both encryption of plain text and decryption of ciphertext. Symmetric key is very simple. It is single key concept where same key will be used to encrypt and also decrypt. On a before example, the key was the third successive letter. So the same key was used to encrypt and also to decrypt. So this is what we term as symmetric keys. Similarly, we have public keys. Public key cryptography is an encryption system which is based on two pairs of keys. Public keys are used to encrypt messages for a receiver. So public key will use two public keys for two persons. Like for example, A and B is talking. So A will have a public key, B will have a public key. So that will be used to lock and unlock. This is a place where the public key is stored in the public domain. So it will be stored in the server of the communication. If you're using a Yahoo Messenger, the public key will be stored in the Yahoo Messenger itself. For a private key may be a part of public or private asymmetric key pair. It can be used as the same key to encrypt and decrypt data. So whereas private key is also part of two keys will be used from person A and person B will have private keys with them. But here the private key will be saved in the private person itself. Person A will have the key, person B will have the key, but the public domain Yahoo Messenger will not have any keys in it. So this is where private key came into picture. Asymmetric key. Asymmetric encryption uses two pairs of key for encryption. Public key is available to anyone, while the secret key is only made available to the receiver of the message. So this is the most advanced security we have currently. So this will have public key and also private key. So public key will be available to the server itself, which is Yahoo Messenger, but private key will be available to the user itself. So this is how the keys is happening. So now what we do is we'll understand how this encryption keys and everything with a very basic example of your WhatsApp. So we'll understand how WhatsApp works and how WhatsApp is being used. So WhatsApp end-to-end encryption. This is our latest technology in WhatsApp, and this makes WhatsApp the number one application to the users around the globe. Everyone use WhatsApp nowadays. So the main reason behind them is they have the secure data security in it. So let's understand how WhatsApp does it. So let's take you are a user, you're gonna install WhatsApp in your mobile. So once you install your WhatsApp, there will be two keys created for your user. Let's take an example. The user is Aravind. Aravind is a person who gonna install WhatsApp and he will have two keys created. One is public key, one is private key. So as I said, public key will be stored in the server, in the WhatsApp server itself. So public key will be saved in WhatsApp server, private key will be saved in the Aravind mobile itself. So in mobile itself, it will be stored. So in Arvind's mobile, private key will be stored, public key will be stored in the WhatsApp server. So here in WhatsApp, we use an algorithm of 60-digit prime number. It's a 60-digit random prime number is being used as a private key. They don't use basic keys like what we say third number, fourth number like that. They use a 60-digit of prime number for every private key. So once you install WhatsApp, you will be having a private 60-digit of prime number installed in your WhatsApp. You can even open your WhatsApp right away and you can open your settings and you can check. You will have this private key. So this is your private key, which should be kept very secret. So normally how the WhatsApp works. So once Aravind has his mobile, he has a private key, he has a public key. Same wise, the end user Nisi. Nisi will have a private key and also a public key. So once Aravind is sending a message to Nisi, he sends a message called hello. So this hello message will be locked by the public key of Nisi. So you can see the arrow mark. So this hello B will be first sent to the public key of Nisi that would be locked. So once the public key is locking the machine, which is nothing but encryption. So public key will encrypt the data and that encrypted data will be decrypted by the private key of Nisi. So here it is public key concept where public key is used to encrypt or lock the message from Aravind, and that would be unlocked only using the private key of Nisi. So this is the security which is being provided by WhatsApp. So if Aravind is sending a message, first lock would be the public key of Nisi, and that will be unlocked by the private key of Nisi. This is the mechanism which WhatsApp brought in single key encryption. But make sure there's an hacker always. So hacker come into picture. Hacker hacks the WhatsApp server itself. So once hacker has access to the WhatsApp server, hacker will have the whole list of public keys in WhatsApp. So now hacker has the access to the public key of Nisi. Now Aravind is sharing, how are you? He's sharing a message called, how are you? So that would be locked by the public key of Nisi, and it can be encrypted only by private key of Nisi. Now the hacker cannot read the message because it is already been locked by the public key of Nisi, which hacker has. But hacker cannot unlock it because to unlock that message, he needs the private key of Nisi. Private key of Nisi will not be available because it is in her mobile only. So it is not available in the server. So the private key will not be able to access for the hacker. But what hacker can do is he will delete that how are you and he will say I am in danger and send me some money. So he will say I'm in need of money, I need 20,000 rupees, please share it to my account, and he will change that data and he will lock it using public key of Nisi, because public key is available for him because it is in the web server of the domain itself. So he will lock with that public key and it will share to Nisi. Nisi will not know that whether hacker has shared it or Aravind has shared it. So what Nisi will do is, with the private key of Nisi, once it is unlocked, she will get a message stating, I am in danger, please share me 20,000 rupees in this particular account. So if it's just the close people or his brother, so Nisi will be having an impact of sharing the money for sure. So what Nisi will do is, she will send the money to that account, and which is not to the Aravind, but it will go to the hacker. So this is how hacker will hack the public domain and he can change the data and he will share it to Nisi. So this was a very big flaw in WhatsApp encryption, which came into as an vulnerable. So this is where the WhatsApp became vulnerable in early days. So WhatsApp came into a new technique to make sure that this is being answered very properly, because WhatsApp should keep their data security very high so that everyone are still using it. So what WhatsApp brought as a part of data security is, created a shared key encryption. Till now, if you see, we were using single key encryption. Now, WhatsApp changed itself, it changed their security standards to shared key encryption. Shared key encryption makes sure it uses two keys to lock the WhatsApp content. So now, whatever Aravind is sharing to Nisi will use public key of Nisi to lock it and also the private key of Aravind. So now to lock the message, it is not that only one public key is used. Now two keys are used. One is private key of Aravind and one is public key of Nisi. Now both these keys are used to lock the message of Aravind, and that message would be decrypted or unlocked only using the private key of Nisi. So this is the shared key concept which WhatsApp came into new technology, which brought a lot of reputation to WhatsApp. So now it's very important that two keys are required, private key and public key of Nisi. Then it will be locked, and that lock would be unlocked only using the private key of Nisi. So let's see if a hacker comes into picture. Now hacker came into picture, he is in the public domain. He will try to unlock or alter the message, but he will not be able to do, because now the hacker needs two keys, part of shared key encryption. So he needs the public key of Nisi. He should also need the private key of Aravind. So both these keys are very important for the hacker to change the data or to read the data. To read the data, he needs the private key for sure. So to change the data itself, he need two keys. One is private key of Aravind and one is public key of Nisi. So now the hacker will not be able to change your data, will not be able to delete your data, and he will not be able to read your data as well. So this is part of shared key. Shared key is the latest technology which is being used in WhatsApp to lock the message with the help of two keys. One is private key of the sender and public key of the receiver. So this is what the end-to-end encryption which we are using in the WhatsApp technology. So WhatsApp end-to-end encryption ensures only you and the person you are communicating with can read what's sent, and nobody in between, even WhatsApp cannot read that message. Your messages are secured with locks, and only the recipient you have the special keys to need to unlock and read your messages. As I said, the private keys are always present with the person's mobile, so that will not be available for WhatsApp also. Even WhatsApp will not be able to read your messages. But also this this is end-to-end encryption, which you can see in all your messages. Once you open your conversation, in the top of the message you can see your messages are end-to-end encrypted. This is a default concept brought by WhatsApp. You will not be able to turn off it, you will not be able to disable it at all. Once you install WhatsApp will work as end-to-end encryption only, to make sure that their data security standards are high to the latest generation. So it makes sure that WhatsApp doesn't make any flaw in its security purpose, so that it will cause any reputation damage or anything for their company. But this is so much care which WhatsApp is taking care on your data. But as an individuals, what we take care, we should be very cautious that we don't share our OTP, we don't share our mobile data to anyone. So much of data security is being given by the application owners. But if you share your one OTP with any other persons, that will breach all your data, because WhatsApp just requires one OTP to install itself in a machine. So, for example, if I take your mobile number is available to many of your friends. So, if I try to install WhatsApp on my mobile with your phone number, it just requires one OTP, which OTP will come to your machine. So, you should make sure that you don't share your OTP to anyone, you don't share your private key to anyone. If these things happen from your end, we can't help you, right? So the WhatsApp is taking the utmost care to make sure your data is secured. So being an individual, being an user, even it's our duty to make sure that we keep our data safe. We don't share our OTPs to anyone, we don't alter our data, we don't accept any fake messages, we don't click on any unauthorized links and everything. So this is very important for us. So make sure you being cautious every time when you are in internet, because in internet you have many places where you will be made to be an victim of any attack. So make sure you are always cautious while using internet. So let's see few major cyber attacks around the world. Adobe is a very big software company which has its base in throughout the world. In 2013, it has around impact on 153 million user records. Their records were hacked and it was stolen, and also 3 million encrypted customers' credit card numbers and everything was just posted in the dark web. eBay was a very big like a platform for shopping. Nowadays it has been reduced a lot because it had many data breaches in thing which reduced its reputation. Then Amazon, Flipkart, everything came into picture. So once you have any attack in your mission, that will have an impact on your reputation as well, loss and everything. In 2014 it has an impact of 145 million users. eBay reports that an attack exposed its entire account list of 145 million users, includes name, address, date of birth, and encrypted passwords. So all these details were data breached and hackers were able to access these data. Dub Smash. Dub Smash is a very latest application which came in last 2 3 years. Many people started using it. Even Dub Smash was had a data breach, which had around 162 million email addresses, usernames, and other personal data were taken, and those have been stolen by the hackers. It impacted around 162 million users' accounts. So Twitter hack. So this is the um, latest data breach which happened just last week. Last week, the Twitter accounts of the major companies and individuals were compromised on last Wednesday, on July 15. Is one of the most widespread and confirmed breaches of the platform has ever seen. All in services promoting a Bitcoin scam that earned its creators nearly $120,000. So this kind of hack was a very high level hacking which happened this last Wednesday, which costed around $120,000. Is the most highest scam in Twitter platform. Till now, Twitter platform didn't had a big scam till date, but this scam was a very big scam. It hacked a lot of companies' profile, big like very powerful people. Obama, Barack Obama, um, Microsoft owners, Bill Gates account, Obama account, everything was hacked. And what they shared was, they said that due to this COVID situation, you give me $1,000 and I would give you back $2,000 in just half an hour. So you will be tempted, right? When Bill Gates says that for COVID relief, I'm giving you $1,000 for free. Share me $1,000 and I will share you $2,000. So what people did is, people started sharing $1,000 to the given link from the Bill Gates account. So everyone knows that it's an authenticated account of Bill Gates. So once that account itself is hacked and he shares a message like that, so he understands that Bill Gates gonna give you back $2,000. So everyone started sending $1,000. And when Bill Gates understood that he didn't post it and it was an hacker, he reported to the Twitter, and Twitter came into picture and he had his cyber forensics and he deleted that tweet. So but unless until Twitter had this forensics and deleted the tweet, it took him around 45 minutes. In just 45 minutes of that post, there were thousands of people who believed that it was Bill Gates who shared that message, and they shared their money, which never didn't come back. So this is the latest data breach which happened, where the very confidential accounts, Obama accounts, and everything were just posted. Uh, account were just hacked and they posted for money. So this was the major attack in Twitter till the date which has ever seen. Yep. Thank you all. So stay home, stay safe, and stay secured. Make sure you're secure all the time whenever you go online. Make sure you are always secured with everything. So thanks from myself Vishal. Okay. So thank you. So you can now go ahead and share your comments so that any questions you have. So I would post it in the larger audience so that I would explain or I will give answers for your questions. So you can share your questions here. Feedback link will be shared once the question and answer session is done. So make sure you're available. So we'll be sharing the feedback link just sometime after the question and answer session. Okay. So I'm waiting for your questions. Hmm. So I've seen Satya Anand has messaged how to secure our WhatsApp content. So as I said, WhatsApp is being secured a lot. From the WhatsApp perspective, what I explained, the shared key concept which they are making end-to-end encryption is very, very secured. So no need to worry if a hacker comes and he hacks your personal data and everything. So that is being secured for sure. But as an user, we should make sure that we don't share our private keys or um, we don't share our private keys and we don't share any OTPs to the people. So that makes sure that your data is very secured. So WhatsApp or Telegram, which one is safe? So it's a very good question. As I said, WhatsApp is making so much place where it makes your data secured, which Telegram does that. Telegram doesn't have a concept of end-to-end encryption. So it's very important that you use a place where it is end-to-end encrypted. Telegram is it doesn't have any encryption concept behind it, so it can be hacked by any hacker, which is still a vulnerable platform. That's the reason you have many regulations in WhatsApp. You have a few users can be in a group and everything, but Telegram doesn't have. Telegram has you can have more than 1,000 members as well. So make sure it's your wish to decide between Telegram and WhatsApp, but understand the security behind it. WhatsApp has more secured for sure. Okay. How can we protect our data in Telegram? Telegram is secured for sure, but it doesn't have end-to-end encryption only. So it's make sure don't share your any confidential details over there. So make sure you don't share any credit card or any kind of confidential data over there. So that will itself make you uh, very easy to make sure that you are being secured always. As a beginner in security, what certificates I have must have. So you can understand you have many security CompTIA Plus. You have understanding CompTIA Plus security itself is a very basic. It just cost you 10K something. But I would make sure that you go into the security field or you understand the security platforms. Then you go for certificates because certificates will make you into go into the organizations very easily. Once you complete your college, you will be these certificates will be helpful for you to get into any of the platforms. Okay. How antivirus differentiate between useful data and malicious data? So antivirus works with an mechanism of signature based. So it uses hashes algorithm. So every file will have a hash behind it. So you name a file called vishal.doc, which is a document, but the computer will understand it's part of hashes. So it will have a set of malicious hashes in its database. It will search for these malicious database in your computer, and it will identify if any malicious data is being in your computer, and that will be quarantined or deleted by the antivirus itself. So that's how it differentiate between the normal folder and a malicious folder, so that the hashes will be vulnerable and it will be part of its virus database already. Okay, sir, don't think that Telegram is less secure as compared to WhatsApp. Why don't improve by using end-to-end encryption? For sure, like that's what I said. WhatsApp has taken so many steps to make it secured. WhatsApp brought this end-to-end encryption just a year before. Till that, it has single key concept where a hacker can hack it. But now, because of end-to-end encryption, it is being reduced for sure. But Telegram is yet to bring end-to-end encryption. Once end-to-end encryption is brought by Telegram, obviously it will also be secured. And even the Telegram has a place where you can share big data, like you can share 1 GB of data in Telegram, which makes it more vulnerable, where WhatsApp doesn't. So these are the few changes. Like you, as I said, it's you are willing to make it um, available for WhatsApp or Telegram. That's your wish, but just to understand the security part, you need to compare both. That's the reason I compared. Which books for best for cybersecurity? As I said, in India we have very less of cybersecurity scope, so there are less books for it, but you have a whole internet for it. You can go for any internet links, you can learn in internet, because internet have more information than books. So but make sure you go for any trusted place where you will learn really what is cybersecurity, and make sure you use it only for legal things. That's more important. Um, Old Windows is likely to hack, so what if we use latest antivirus? So it doesn't make sure, right? So antivirus is a place where will block only the file level, but if your OS itself is old, the virus will be able to get attached to the software itself. There are different kind of softwares. It's not only about one particular virus, but there are spyware, there were adwares and everything, which will be looking like a normal, like you can install a game from internet. It will be a game for you in outside, but internally it will try to hack and it will try to spy whatever you do, it will be recorded by him and it will be shared in the public. So that's the reason we recommend that Windows and antivirus both should be up to date, because even having a old Windows will make that you vulnerable from everything. Okay. Mhm. For marketing, does antivirus software company develop virus? It's still a myth which is going around the world. So no one can answer this, because unless until we have the confirmation from anyone, we can't even answer this. But there are many myth and many news which is being surrounded by the world, where software company develop viruses. But it's always important to make sure you have latest softwares. So it can be a marketing technique of anyone, but still I would recommend, there is no answer for such things, but it's our duty to make ourselves safer from everything. So that's the reason we make this. Can we open the unknown email and read the same without downloading any content, or just reading the mail creates issue? Oh, for sure, reading a mail will not happen anything. But the thing is, your body of the email will have an encrypted data. So they will not be, if you go near to the message, your icon will directly change it into a picture. There will not be any sign of letter. That italic option will not come. Only a picture option will come, which makes that it is more. It's like an JPG link. Once you click that, it will automatically redirect to your any adware or any advertisement. So that's the reason you should never click on any body of the email itself. You can read it, not an issue, but don't click on the letters or don't click on the attachment. That will have 80% of chance to redirect you to any other link, which will be very problem. Kali Linux is best for cybersecurity. No, it's like Kali Linux is an hackers tool. It's like an hackers platform. So hackers use Kali Linux. So being part of cybersecurity, we learn from how hacker does. So you should know what hacker does. That's the reason. Even hacker use Kali Linux, and even security people use it, because unless until we understand how he does that, we will not be able to make any antidote or signatures for it. That's the reason we use Kali Linux. Okay, now we'll move on. We'll end the session. We'll have one last question. We'll have, okay. Can you please elaborate Truecaller or such app that disclose other identity? For sure, like this has never been done legally. So, but it's very true that many apps like Truecaller or everything has an access. Once you allow your contact list, it will just try to read your contacts and it will have it's it in public domain. That's how Truecaller works, right? So once you have 100 numbers, if you have my number, so that will be taken into its record, and someone else getting my number will automatically show that it's from Vishal. So that's how Truecaller work. It will understand all the context of every users who install it, and it will replicate it will increase its public knowledge. That's how it works. So even that's the reason where I can say the Indian government blocked so much of Chinese app. That's the reason behind why the TikTok was blocked, why the cam scanner, share it, everything was blocked. It's only because of data security. So once your data security goes down, at that point of time, it is very crucial for yourself. So that's the reason Indian government blocked it, so that Chinese government cannot have any data information of Indian citizens. That's a very bold act which made a lot of difference in the data security world, which made the companies not to have any Indian data with them. So thanks for all your comments and message. So just an offline as an ethical hacker, I work in an organization where I give signatures. I make sure that their infra is very good, and that's how I work. So I work as a cybersecurity technical architect. So I help the organizations to make sure that they are safe from any other attacks. So I would suggest them, these are all the places where your missions are vulnerable, and we will fix it. Before the hacker knows it, a cybersecurity person would understand, and he will give the updates for them. So that's the reason ethical hackers are being in the market. We help the organizations to be very safe from any cyber attacks. So thank you all. So we'll move on to Dr. Ati. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful session, actually. Sir, one query we have posted in chat, sir. Have you seen? Can you suggest any course or something like that for the students who are interested in this domain?
Yeah, I would answer that. Probably being an ethical hacker is a place where you be doing everything for the owner's consent. So unless until people have their mindset, they do it for genuine purpose, it is very illegal to share any content. So I would help them. So I would suggest them just to have subscribed to our YouTube account, so that I will share any documents or anything which is being from my side, so that that will be helpful for the users to read and to understand the ethical hacking on, also about securities. But about the codes or any softwares, it's purely illegal to share anyone, because we know that we do it for an ethical purpose. But if from me it is going to another person, from another person it is going to a third person, at that point of time it can be used for legal or illegal. So that's the reason the codes are being blocked at the ISP level itself. So we'll share any documents about the security advisories and security informations in our channel for sure. So that would be used for the people. So even I have shared my email address in the description. So any queries, I will always answer them in my email address. So you can share it in my email address, and I will post it in the comment section for the users. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Aarti?
Shall we go for conclusions? Yes, ma'am.
Shall we wind up?
Sir,
Yes,
for
ma'am.
the
Okay.
feedback
Now I
link, sir.
request Professor R. Padmaja from.
Yeah, I'm uploading it. I'm just commenting on the place. You can start with the vote of thanks. I'm doing it.
Okay, sir. Okay, now I request Professor R. Padmaja from Department of MCA to deliver the vote of thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, Vishal Garu. It was really a good and very informative session. It have motivated many participants to start the journey towards data security. Very happy to be known that around 630 people have registered today's webinar. Some from Singapore, Philippines, Oman, and it's very happy to listen that we have come to the end of fully loaded sessions on cyber security. We thank Mr. K.M. Vishal Garu for taking time and sharing with us this valuable information on cyber security. We thank our principal, Dr. P. Ramesh Kumar Garu, Vice Principal, Dr. S. Srikanth Garu, HOD of CSE and HOD of MCA for supporting this session. We are also thankful to the patience and attention of our participants.
Yeah, so feedback link has been posted, participants. So you can just click on the URL, and in the about section of a page, you will find the feedback link. You can directly click on the blue place where you will have the feedback link for sure. So once you click that feedback, you will have a feedback form. Please fill the feedback form and just submit it so that you will get the e-certificates to you delivered right away. And there might be a delay for you people, so make sure you do it as soon as possible so that you will get your e-certificates as soon as possible. Thank you. And the link will also be in the description of the video, so make sure you check our comments and also on the description of the video.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Jagdishan sir. Thanks for the opportunity. Okay, fine. So we'll end the session now. So I would request everyone to just click on the feedback link and share your feedback forms. And you can if we just close our broadcast now also, our link will be available there. So just click on the comment section where the link is present. Just click on it, and once in the about section, you will have the feedback link. Thank you. Thank you all for joining. Thanks for your valuable time. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Padma ma'am. Thank you, Aarti ma'am. Thank you, Jagdishan sir. Purushothaman, thanks for your joining. We'll end the session now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.